Hello, I'm Technical Sergeant James Buslon. I'm a recruiter for the United States Air Force, and today I'll be discussing my stance on capital punishment. The death penalty. Does the punishment fit the crime? What are your thoughts on the topic that decides whether a person lives or dies? Some will argue that capital punishment does not teach the accused a lesson, and that a lifetime in prison is punishment enough. Some will also go as far as to oppose the decision because as a society, we should lower ourselves to the same standards as the criminal. I disagree. The sentencing for criminals needs to be swift and fair. Capital punishment is also a sentence that fits the nature of the crime. Convicted criminals should not be allowed to appeal in court to prolong their judgment. And most importantly, the death penalty provides an opportunity for closure for the victim's family. So let's ask yourselves one question. Is the justice system fair? Sometimes. In the United States, over 30 states utilize capital punishment. Research done by Jeffrey A. Fagan, professor of law and public health, co-director of the Center of Crime, states that one execution could save up between 3 and 32 lives. The FBI in 2004 cataloged over 16,000 murders. Out of these murders, 125 were death sentences, with only 59 being executed. A majority of those 59 were previously convicted earlier in that decade. What is taking so long to get to these executions? Why don't the numbers match? Let's not downplay the crime. Let's provide closure for the families. A majority is partly because the sentences are being lowered. Convicted criminals must not be allowed to appeal for their court cases and prolong their judgment. The law's proportionality state that the punishment should fit the crime. In some states, provided the right circumstances, the minimum sentence for first-degree murder is 25 to life in prison, with the possibility for parole. How does that accurately reflect the justice system? Convicted serial killer and rapist Ted Bundy spent 10 years in prison, and he was executed in 1989. He was originally charged in 1979. 10 years he prolonged his death because of appeals in court. Charles Manson, convicted killer, is now 80 years old, and he served over 60 years in prison. Now he's married, he's newly married, and he's been up for review for parole. We need to provide closure for families. Families need to grieve, not suffer. We need to provide an ending. We shouldn't force families to suffer through 10 or 60 years of turmoil like Ted Bundy and Charles Manson did. If you choose to break the law, be prepared to suffer the consequences of your actions. Today's topic revealed the ultimate consequence. If you take a life, we will take yours. Criminal sentencing should be swift and fair. And over 30 states use capital punishment. And the statistics showed that an average of 3 to 32 lives could be saved if we were to catch these criminals sooner. High-profile murderer Ted Bundy spent his 10 years in prison appealing for a lesser sentence because he was afraid to die. We cannot continue to sentence murderers like Charles Manson to life sentences with parole hearings. We need to provide closure to the families of the victims. Charles Manson was originally sentenced to death, but due to California's temporary redaction of the death penalty, his sentence was reduced to life in prison. It's been 60 years since his incarceration. What justice does that say for the family? Swift sentencing, capital punishment will provide an opportunity for closure rather than 60 years of turmoil. I'm James Buslon, and I'm done.
We got 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh, perfect. Sweet. Man, I didn't know what to say at the end, and I got mixed up with twice.